For over 4 decades, movies have hand-fed us the exact same meal. We build artificial intelligence, the intelligence wakes up, and we spend the next 2 hours running for our lives from an apocalyptic chrome-plated nightmare. That repetitive story loop became our default lens. When we hear the words artificial intelligence, our collective memory often bypasses the actual math and reaches straight for the metallic skull. But the intelligence that actually arrived looks nothing like that. The real breakthroughs of our era are entirely invisible. They are recommendation engines, text generators, and language models quietly running in the background of your web browser. Which brings us to a massive blind spot. We are dealing with a fictional decoy. When we spend our energy waiting for a cinematic villain to materialize, we completely miss the silent technological shift happening right in front of us. When the public reacts to the arrival of actual AI today, they are rarely reacting to the code itself. They are reacting to an archetype built in a 1980s screenplay. To understand why these specific stories took hold, we have to look at what they were really doing. These scripts were never actually about software. They were a convenient mirror, a way for us to process deep, pre-existing human anxieties. In the 1980s, the dominant fear was industrial. As robotics began entering factories, people watched unfeeling machinery strip away human labor, income, and identity. You take that economic dread and drop it right into the middle of the Cold War. Suddenly, the culture is simmering in the existential dread of nuclear annihilation, successfully welding the concept of technology directly to the apocalypse. Hollywood took those raw ingredients and gave them a face. From a strict storytelling perspective, a helpful, invisible algorithm optimizing a database does not provide high-stakes conflict. To make the threat cinematic, writers had to invent physical avatars that audiences could actually see and run away from. So here we are facing a rapidly accelerating future, but our perception of it is trapped in a 40-year-old psychological mirror. We are using 20th century trauma to evaluate 21st century capability. If you want to see what a genuine breakthrough looks like today, you have to abandon the idea of a shiny metal endoskeleton. The true physical form of cutting-edge intelligence is acres of data-driven software running endlessly on massive global compute clusters. Take xAI's Colossus facility, for example. It is an enormous training supercomputer built from the ground up in just 122 days by prioritizing hard engineering and speed over bureaucratic delays. This diagram outlines the architecture of a modern large language model. This is the core mechanism of AI right now. There is no singular spark of consciousness suddenly waking up. Instead, thousands of scattered data points are funneled through sequential layers of algorithms, endlessly optimizing and synthesizing an output. Notice how the system expands. It scales intelligence horizontally across vast networks, crunching billions of parameters simultaneously, rather than building a single isolated digital brain. We see the results of this architecture daily. Software agents are now drafting functional code, automating creative workflows, and synthesizing complex research papers in seconds. These systems execute tasks by following instructions to the letter, without any malevolent intent. The progress we are seeing is an upward curve of pure capability, defined solely by infrastructure and code. We are moving incredibly fast, but there is no Hollywood villain waiting for us at the finish line. To accurately assess the risk in front of us, we need a new diagnostic framework. We have to take the cinematic threats we've been conditioned to fear and translate them into their actual, systemic counterparts. The fictional threat is malevolence. It is the idea that a machine develops a soul, realizes its position, and actively chooses to destroy humanity. This graph illustrates the real-world counterpart. The true danger is unaligned optimization. The top line tracks system efficiency, a non-conscious algorithm perfectly executing its assigned goal. But as it optimizes, the second line, representing human impact, drops sharply. The system isn't angry, it's simply indifferent to human collateral. We are already living with the practical consequences of this dynamic. Unaligned algorithms quietly reinforce historical bias in lending, cause silent economic disruptions in the labor market, and erode our shared digital truth through the mass distribution of deepfakes. Nobody is going to be hunted down by a rogue machine wielding a weapon. The risk is that massive, invisible systems will reorganize our daily lives and our global economy with total indifference to our well-being. These optimizing engines are already deeply embedded into the institutions that run our society. They dictate who gets hired, who gets a loan, and how military logistics are routed across the globe. Fixating on a hypothetical robot uprising shifts the policy debate toward preventing sci-fi scenarios rather than managing real-world code. When we prioritize fighting cinematic ghosts, we risk regulatory freezes that stall tools designed to detect cancer early or optimize global energy grids. Aligning these systems with human intent creates a massive multiplier for human effort. We are already seeing AI model the folding of every known protein and simulate complex climate patterns at a resolution we couldn't achieve alone. We have to drop the script. We need to discard the cinematic mirror we've held up for 40 years and recognize that artificial intelligence is exactly what the name implies. It is an artifact of our own ambition, our own design, and our own oversight. The outcome of the AI era won't be determined by machines developing a soul. Our success rests entirely on whether we can govern the immense scale of the power we have already unleashed.